I always believed blood meant permanence. Growing up, my brother Aaron and I were all each other had after our parents died young. He was 5 years older, louder, sharper, someone who belonged in rooms full of powerful people. I was quieter, more observant, the kind of person who listened more than they spoke. But we were family, and I thought that was enough to keep us loyal to each other. I was wrong. I didn't realize I had been uninvited at first. There was no phone call, no message, no uncomfortable conversation. I learned through fragments. My aunt mentioning dress colors, a cousin asking which hotel I was staying at, a group chat buzzing with excitement that suddenly went silent when I typed a greeting. The absence wrapped around me slowly, like cold air seeping under a door. Finally, I called Aaron. There was a pause before he answered, the kind that tells you the person already knows what you're about to ask. When I mentioned the wedding, he sighed, as if I had burdened him with something inconvenient. "It's probably better if you don't come," he said. I laughed softly, certain I had misheard him. "What?" Another pause. Then his voice turned measured, rehearsed. "Evelyn thinks it could complicate things. You know how public everything is now. She's running for Congress. We're trying to be careful." Careful? I waited for him to defend me. To say my presence mattered, to say I was his sister. He didn't. What did I do? I asked. Nothing. He replied quickly, "It's not about you. It's about optics." That word landed like a slap. Optics. As if my existence could tarnish his future. As if I was something to hide. After we hung up, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the wall while memories replayed in my head. Helping him through college applications, covering for him when he made mistakes, standing in the background while he stepped into the spotlight. I had never asked for recognition. I never imagined I'd be erased instead. That night, I cried quietly, pressing my hand to my mouth so even the walls wouldn't hear. Betrayal doesn't always come with shouting or slammed doors. Sometimes it arrives calmly, spoken by someone you trust, wrapped in a polite excuse, and in that silence I made a promise to myself. If I was so easy to exclude, then I would stop explaining my worth. I would let them underestimate me, and I would walk away gracefully, completely, and forever changed. After the call with Aaron, I didn't confront anyone else. I didn't demand explanations from relatives or correct the story as it slowly shifted into something vague and uncomfortable. Silence, I learned, was its own kind of shield. While everyone else celebrated, I stepped back and focused on the only thing that had never betrayed me: my work. I had always loved history, not for its grandeur, but for its honesty. Objects couldn't lie. Archives didn't care about status or politics. They remembered everything. I poured myself into that world, arriving early, staying late, letting the rhythm of preservation steady me when my heart still felt bruised. Each successful project became a quiet reminder that value didn't need an audience. Years passed that way. Promotions came without ceremony. Responsibility grew heavier, then meaningful. Eventually, I was offered a position most people only dreamed about: overseeing a private Smithsonian affiliated research and curation program. It wasn't public facing, and that suited me just fine. My job was to protect history, manage donor access, and approve specialized tours for scholars, dignitaries, and government figures. I never told Aaron. Not out of spite, just because he no longer had a place in my daily life. From a distance, I heard fragments about him instead. His engagement was everywhere online. Evelyn Cross was praised as poised, brilliant, and destined for national leadership. Photos of them smiling beneath bright lights flooded my feed until I muted every name connected to them. I didn't hate her, but she had benefited from my absence, and that knowledge sat quietly in my chest. One afternoon, a formal request appeared in my inbox. A cultural tour, high priority, marked confidential. The name at the top made my breath pause for just a second. Congresswoman-elect Evelyn Cross. She wanted a curated Smithsonian experience for donors and political allies, an elegant demonstration of her appreciation for American history. The request required director-level approval. I leaned back in my chair, surprised not by the coincidence, but by my own calm. The pain that once felt sharp had softened into something steady. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel triumph. I felt ready. I approved the tour without comment, without signature flourish, without revealing myself. This wasn't a trap or a scheme. It was simply the truth catching up, step by step. Sometimes revenge isn't loud or cruel. Sometimes it's letting people meet the version of you they never thought existed, because they never bothered to look. And as I closed the file, I realized something else. For the first time since the wedding, I wasn't invisible anymore. The morning Evelyn arrived, the Smithsonian halls gleamed like polished history itself. Every exhibit sparkled under the warm lights. Every artifact seemed to whisper its own story. Security personnel flanked her closely, taking careful notes, while aides hovered silently, trying to anticipate every request. Cameras waited discreetly at the edges, ready to capture moments of admiration. It was precisely the kind of controlled environment she thrived in. I stayed in my office at first, behind the thick doors and polished wood, reviewing the tour schedule. I had prepared meticulously, making sure every detail reflected the integrity of the program. This wasn't a performance, this was stewardship. When her aide announced Congresswoman Cross would like to meet the program director, my pulse quickened ever so slightly, not out of fear, but anticipation. I walked down the corridor, smooth and unhurried, until we met. Evelyn turned, her practiced smile ready, but the moment she saw me, it faltered. Recognition crossed her face like a shadow sliding over sunlit stone. "You're his sister," she said carefully, almost as if testing the sound of the words. "Yes," I replied, keeping my voice steady, neutral, "and I run this program." The silence that followed was not dramatic. It was thick and deliberate, like history itself pressing down on her. She was used to commanding rooms. She was used to being the authority. But here, in my halls, surrounded by the past I had preserved, she hesitated. I guided her through the exhibits, speaking with a confidence earned through years of dedication. I explained the provenance of each artifact, the care required to preserve it, the stories behind forgotten names. I did not mention the wedding, nor the years I had been excluded. There was no need. The respect she sought would not come from favors or introductions. It came from authority, from mastery, from being undeniably indispensable. Throughout the tour, I watched her carefully, noticing the subtle shift in posture, the way her words grew more cautious, her questions more thoughtful. She realized she was no longer in control. She was a visitor in a world I had built, a world she could not simply charm or manipulate. At the end of the tour, she pulled me aside. I didn't realize. She admitted softly, her usual confidence cracked just enough to reveal genuine uncertainty. "I know," I said quietly, "that's why it hurt. No accusations, no bitterness, just the truth, and in that truth, in the quiet strength of my presence, the scales of power had begun to tip. For the first time, I felt a satisfaction that wasn't loud or vengeful. It was far more powerful. It was validation. It was recognition. Evelyn had come expecting prestige. Instead, she had found authority, and it had been mine all along. That evening, my phone buzzed. "Aaron." I almost didn't answer. But curiosity and old ties drew me in. His voice, usually confident and commanding, wavered. It was strained, like a door forced open after years of being sealed. Amna, I heard you were the director. I didn't know. His words trailed off. I let the pause stretch. I could have let the silence speak louder than any accusation, and it did. You didn't ask. I said calmly, no anger, no reproach, just the simple truth. He coughed, uncertain. I just thought I'd reach out. I mean, we're family. You wanted to see me where? I asked softly, at your wedding, or somewhere else after deciding I didn't belong. Silence, that was the point. I didn't need him to apologize. I didn't need him to explain. I didn't even need him to understand fully. My revenge wasn't in words, in accusations, or in public humiliation. It was in being unshakable, in living fully in the space he tried to erase me from. It was in showing that my worth never depended on his approval. I didn't attend the wedding. I didn't send gifts, congratulations, or messages. I didn't need to. While Aaron basked in applause, I had my own halls to walk, my own achievements to steward, my own respect to command. I had turned absence into authority, invisibility into recognition, and when Evelyn crossed my path, expecting charm to open doors, she found expertise, control, and undeniable command instead. That was the kind of victory no wedding photo or public spotlight could ever diminish. Some lessons are learned too late. Others arrive quietly, leaving no room for argument, only understanding. I realized that being underestimated had been a gift in disguise. It gave me time to grow, to build, to earn authority without anyone noticing, until the moment I needed it most. Revenge is not always about retaliation. Sometimes it's about endurance, grace, and timing. Standing firm in one's place, allowing the world to see what they refuse to value, is sweeter than any confrontation or exposure. Aaron might always think of me as someone peripheral, someone overshadowed, but I knew the truth. I wasn't a shadow. I wasn't secondary. I was essential. I was irreplaceable, and that knowledge, quiet, deep, unyielding, was the sweetest revenge of all. I walked through the halls of the Smithsonian that night, the echo of footsteps around me, and finally I felt the satisfaction of being seen, not as anyone else's sister, but as myself, fully, undeniably, and without apology. I had been excluded, I had been underestimated, and yet I had become untouchable.